Recording started.
Hello, and welcome to the Learning Session 3, Train the Trainer, Serving Meals, Family Style, and Supporting Breastfeeding. My name is Brianna Holmes, and I am one of the content specialists for the National Early Care and Education Learning Collaborative Project. One of our goals here at the National Office is to ensure that all trainers have the resources, materials, and information needed to implement successful learning sessions. Being prepared is critical in this project, as the learning sessions contain a wealth of information. The amount of information may seem overwhelming at times, so to reduce the feeling, please continue to use this webinar and those forthcoming as a way to reflect and hopefully guide you as a successful trainer. Our agenda today will review the Learning Session 3 PowerPoint presentation, as well as the Learning Session 3 implementation guide to prepare you for the upcoming learning session. Since this is not the actual presentation, we will not show the slides, but do a review of them to hopefully answer any questions or concerns that you may have. It may be helpful to have your implementation guide along with your participant handbook available as a reference during this webinar. Learning Session 3 will cover information related to family-style dining and breastfeeding support. In addition, participants will continue to work on their action plan and their storyboards during the Learning Session 3 action period. It is recommended that you do check in approximately 30 minutes before Learning Session 3 to give enough time for participants to sign in, collect any materials you have to distribute, including the Learning Session 3 participant handbook, and get settled in before jumping into the content. Please don't forget to collect the Learning Session 2 group discussion worksheet from participants. Remember, this is a networking opportunity for participants, so feel free to invite outside resources or outside agencies to come in to share resources, present resources for them to have maybe a resource walk or some type of area developed strictly just for resources that participants can view and talk to other participants while they're there. And don't forget to distribute the Sesame Street Healthy Habits for Life Toolkit. This is distributed to the participants this learning session, and it is one per program. During the Learning Session 2 action period, participants will have the opportunity to share the changes that they are beginning to make. So welcome participants to the learning session and facilitate a group discussion around the child and family columns they completed in Learning Session 2 on their action plan worksheet. Ask participants how they felt about completing the worksheet and the changes they've begun to make in their program. Participants will share their changes by engaging in the bar graph sharing activity. The sharing activity is just another opportunity for participants to creatively show what they're making changes in and the successes that they have been having, as well as network. So the instructions for the bar graph sharing activity can be found in the implementation guide as well as on the notes section on the notes slide of the PowerPoint. Learning Session 3 content. Learning Session 3 content. We will review the content of the learning session, and we will cover best practices for family-style dining, ways to support breastfeeding families, iMessaging communication skills, continuing the process of healthy change through developing action steps to support program staff, and ways to support family-style dining through program staff, families, and program policies. PowerPoint Part A, Family-Style Dining. So Learning Session 3 kicks off with a goal-setting activity, similar to the goal-setting activity done in Learning Session 2. This activity asks through the question, are you ready for family-style dining? These activities we've used in Learning Session 2 as well as now ask the participants the how, what, who, when, and where of the desired change. So to conduct the goal-setting activity, please follow the instructions in your implementation guide. It's very helpful to have participants think about what practices they are currently using while serving meals. Programs may have different definitions of what family-style dining is, and they may be doing it at different levels. So it's important to identify where each program is. Have participants write down the goals and steps they need to reach their goal of family-style dining. Participants should include the challenges and barriers they may face while trying to implement family-style dining. For example, a program may already be practicing family-style dining, but would like to encourage greater participation among the children. The program should then answer the how, what, who, when, and where within the goal-setting process. How can he or she encourage the child to properly use mealtime utensils? What types of child-sized equipment is needed to be successful? Who will this affect and who may be a source of support? When will the program start the implementation process, and will the gradual steps be taken to reach the overall goal? And where will family-style dining take place? And have participants reflect and ask themselves, is this a realistic and achievable goal? Ask for volunteers to share their desired change and the steps that they need to achieve it. The goals do not have to be extensive, and smaller goals are usually more appropriate because they're more realistic. So an example could be the 2-year-old classroom will begin to introduce family-style dining by using the water table once a week. This shows the who and the where, which is the 2-year-old classroom. They will introduce family-style dining, which is your what. They will use the water table as how, once a week when, with the suggested materials for the children to use. This is a great example of how programs can start to introduce family-style dining to children. There are 3 videos shown in this segment. The PowerPoint contains a prompt to play each video, so you can click on the picture on the PowerPoint slide to start the video. If you do not have internet access, the videos can be found on the companion USB. At the end of each video, if time permits, facilitate a discussion around the participants' thoughts and reactions. Use this as an opportunity for the participants to reflect on ways that they can adopt some of the tips and make changes in their program. Review the family-style mealtime routine handouts also with the participants and encourage them to share the document with their families. Remember to remind participants that all documents can be found on the Let's Move Child Care website. As mentioned in the previous webinars, 1 physical activity break per learning session will be dedicated to introducing and linking an activity to your state's early learning standard. Please bring copies of your state's early learning standards to distribute to the participants at the learning sessions. For the physical activity break, use the Sesame Street Healthy Habits Spice Toolkit to conduct the activity on page 42, called Mystery Food Box. Take this time to connect your state's early learning standards to this activity. Once you conduct the activity, facilitate a discussion around what common early learning standard domains were addressed. Use your early learning standards as a guide to facilitate this discussion, or use the domains listed in the implementation guide. There may be additional domains specific to your state's early learning standards, so encourage the participants to think about what else could have been done during the activity. PowerPoint Part B, role-playing activity. For Part B, you will conduct a role-playing activity. Participants will practice their iMessaging skills based on the changes that they may be making in their program. It's important to effectively communicate healthy changes being made in the program. So effective communication is important when discussing changes with both families and program staff. So please try to emphasize that to the program participants as well. This is a fun activity, and I think every program loves to engage in it, and it's wonderful to hear all the stories. Just encourage the programs to remember that this is a win-win situation for the child, so we want to make sure that the outcomes are always in the best interest of the child. After introducing the 3 communication skills, explain to the participants that they will get the opportunity to practice using their active listening skills, their iMessaging skills through a role-playing activity. Before breaking off into groups of 3, you will facilitate a large group discussion using the sample scenarios provided in the PowerPoint and asking participants if the teacher in the scenario used iMessaging skills. After discussing the sample scenario, participants can break off into three, and each person should choose the role of either the parent, the ECE provider, and/or the observer. Groups should choose one of the 3 scenarios that are provided in the presentation to role play. Have participants shoot a scenario, act it out, and have the observer help facilitate the interaction between the parent and ECE provider. As participants are doing the role-playing activity, it's helpful for you to walk around and remind participants to use their iMessaging skills that they just learned. PowerPoint Part C, Facilitating Change in Your Program. This segment will be used to start identifying action steps needed to create change in the middle rings of the social ecological model, including program staff and the program environment. Work as a large group or divide participants into two groups to complete the program staff and program environment columns of their action plan worksheet. Encourage participants to think about how the steps they are developing can be continued after the project is complete. So this shows a sample. This is a picture of the action plan worksheet and the focus areas that you'll be focusing on, the areas that you'll be focusing on for this learning session, which is program staff and program environment. So review each of the action steps outlined in the program staff column first. Point out that the dates were assigned and the person held responsible to guide the program in moving along with the action steps. This is just a sample, so the dates and the people who are decided depends on the programs and how they would like to roll out their action plan. This is very similar to what they did in Learning Session 2, which is, like I said, we're just going to continue the process and just do it in smaller stages. And the same with the program environment. Participants will decide who will be the dates assigned, what the action steps needed, and who is responsible. And that will help guide them along with moving with the action steps for the program environment. As they complete each column, please help them connect the columns back to the child and the family. See how each of these relate. Help them to connect to say, hey, this started with the child, here's how it affects the family, now it affects program staff and program environment. We want the providers to be able to set goals and to set action steps, but to be able to see the connection and see how everything links together. Facilitating change in your program. So during the action period, participants will facilitate a mini version of the learning session. They will use the action steps identified during the segment to work with their staff and implement changes in their program. They will complete the Learning Session 3 group discussion worksheet, and they will use their Sesame Street Healthy Habits for Life, Sesame Street Healthy Habits for Life toolkit to complete this worksheet. This worksheet is turned in during Learning Session 4. Participants should continue to build on the storyboard throughout all action periods as action steps are identified and implemented for each column of the action plan worksheet. Participants will have the opportunity to share their final storyboard at Learning Session 5. PowerPoint Part D is breastfeeding support. This segment discusses the benefits of breastfeeding and ways to support breastfeeding families in your program. In the beginning, participants will complete an activity called What Do You Know About Breastfeeding, a true or false activity. This allows participants to test their knowledge about best practices for breastfeeding. All the answers to the activity are true, and the answer key can be found in your implementation guide. You will also conduct a physical activity break during the section, so please use your nutrition and movement activity break or even use your Sesame Street Healthy Habits for Life toolkit when conducting your physical activity break. This section has the How to Support Breastfeeding Mothers video. Again, you can click on the picture on the PowerPoint presentation to open the hyperlink. If you do not have internet access, please use the companion USB that has the video on it. You will pass out, each program should have the handout 10 Steps for Breastfeeding Friendly Child Care Centers. Please review that with them. It's a great tool for them. You even have, since it's only 10 steps, you can review each step with them and just to see where they are. And just encourage them to use the website to print it and share with other families and just to have it if they need additional resources as well. Extending your learning, families, staff, families, and program policies. During the last segment of the day, Extending Your Learning, participants will review ways to advocate for breastfeeding, breastfeeding opportunities at work, ways programs can support families and staff, and resources to support breastfeeding and family-style dining. Congratulations, you have completed the Learning Session 3 Train the Trainer webinar. I hope that you feel more confident, prepared, and ready to facilitate your third learning session. If you have any additional questions, please contact your project coordinator or the other content specialist, Katie Hallis, or myself at the contact information provided above. Thank you for participating in the Learning Session 3 Train the Trainer webinar, and hope you have a great day.